In a world that often mistakes arrogance for confidence and noise for strength, true self-assurance is becoming rare. But the wisdom of the ancient Stoics offers a powerful alternative, one that builds unshakable confidence, not through external approval, but through inner mastery. This video will guide you through 10 life-changing lessons drawn from Stoic philosophy. Each lesson is designed to sharpen your focus, steady your emotions, and fortify your presence in the face of chaos. You will learn to lead yourself with clarity, respond to life with calm resilience, and live with a strength that cannot be taken. Because it is not given by others, it is earned through self-discipline, reflection, and unwavering control of your mind. If you're ready to stop chasing validation and start building real, lasting confidence from within, this is where it begins. 1. KN. Owning and living according to your personal beliefs. Knowing and living according to your personal beliefs is not just a philosophical exercise, it is the core structure upon which all lasting confidence is built. Without it, you become vulnerable to the winds of opinion, the noise of culture, and the temptations of short-term gain. You lose yourself in the crowd. You shift your behavior to be liked. You betray your values for applause. And slowly, without even noticing, you begin to feel hollow. Your confidence becomes a mask, thin, fragile, and always at risk of cracking under pressure. But when you take the time to know yourself, truly know yourself through reflection, discipline, and honest self-examination, you begin to build something that cannot be touched by circumstance. You begin to live from the inside out. The Stoics believed that a man's character is his fate, not his luck, not his environment, not what others think of him, but his character, his values, his integrity, and his willingness to live them out with consistency and strength. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because the moment you decide to live according to your own beliefs, especially if they run counter to popular trends, you will be judged. You will be questioned. You will be misunderstood. And if you are not grounded in your values, that judgment will shake you. It will make you doubt yourself. But if you are anchored, if you know who you are and why you do what you do, you will stand, not with arrogance, but with calm, steady certainty. Living according to your personal beliefs means choosing truth over convenience. It means saying no when others say yes. It means walking away from opportunities that conflict with your principles. It means being misunderstood by those who live for approval. And it means accepting discomfort as the price for authenticity. But the reward is this: you begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. You stop needing others to tell you that you're enough, because you know you are living in alignment with your deepest convictions. That is what creates real confidence, not the absence of fear, but the refusal to abandon yourself in the face of it. Consider how most people live. They adjust themselves based on who's watching. They hide their beliefs to avoid conflict. They seek validation through conformity, and yet they wonder why they feel anxious, indecisive, and insecure. The Stoic lives differently. He is consistent. What he believes in private, he defends in public. What he values today, he protects tomorrow. His actions reflect his beliefs, not his emotions. Not the crowd, not the trends of the day. And from that consistency comes a quiet, powerful presence. A presence that does not need to boast, because it radiates depth, a presence that does not need to prove, because it is rooted in something permanent. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, but thoughts alone are not enough. They must be chosen, tested, and lived. They must be forged into belief, and those beliefs must become behavior." This is not about rigid ideology, it is about clarity of who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not tolerate. That clarity turns confusion into direction, it turns chaos into focus, and it turns weakness into strength. This is the path of the Stoic. It is not a loud path. It is not a path lined with praise. It is often lonely, difficult, and misunderstood. But it is the only path that leads to self-respect. And once you have that, once you look in the mirror and know that you are not living a lie, you will feel a confidence that no amount of success or applause could ever match. You will stop chasing validation, because you will have already given yourself the only approval that matters, your own. So begin now. Reflect on your values. Define them clearly. Write them down. Challenge them. Ask yourself, am I living by these, or just saying I believe them? Then, make them the standard for your life. Measure every action against them. Refuse to drift. Refuse to conform. Choose alignment over comfort. Choose depth over distraction. And let that alignment become your source of confidence. Because when you live in harmony with your beliefs, you become the kind of man who is not only respected by others, but respected by himself. That respect is the foundation of true, unshakable strength. And it is the beginning of a life led with conviction, purpose, and peace. 2. Focusing on what matters. Focusing on what truly matters is the discipline that separates the common from the uncommon. It is the mental clarity that cuts through noise, the strategic filter that removes weakness, and the inner compass that ensures your time is not wasted on what is petty, temporary, or beneath your purpose. The Stoics were relentless in this teaching. They understood that attention is a finite resource, and whatever captures your attention controls your life. Marcus Aurelius, a man who led an empire, wrote not about conquest, but about focus. He reminded himself daily, concentrate every minute like a Roman on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness. This is not romantic advice. It is a tactical command, because a man who cannot control his focus will never control his future. When you lose focus, you don't just lose time, you lose power. You open the gates of your mind to manipulation. You allow yourself to be pulled into battles that weaken your discipline, arguments that erode your peace, habits that fracture your momentum. Your goals become blurred. Your energy is scattered. Your confidence begins to erode, not because you lack ability, but because you've been divided by distraction. Every man faces this test. Will you serve your mission, or will you serve your impulse? Will you lead yourself, or will you be led by what is urgent, loud, or convenient? The Stoic rejects the frantic pace of the world, not because he is slow, but because he is exact. He understands that most of what demands his attention is irrelevant to his purpose. So he pares down. He simplifies. He narrows his vision until only the essential remains, and in doing so, he becomes more dangerous. Not in aggression, but in precision. His energy is not wasted. His mind is not fogged by endless decision fatigue. He acts only when necessary, speaks only when useful, and moves only in the direction of growth. This is the kind of focus that does not bend in the face of temptation. It does not flinch in the face of criticism. It remains centered because it is rooted in purpose, not ego, not emotion, not applause. To live with this level of focus, you must be ruthless with your environment. Audit your inputs. Who has access to your mind? What are you allowing into your thoughts each day? The Stoic understands that whatever you feed your mind becomes your mindset, and your mindset becomes your reality. So he is careful. He is not passive about what he watches, what he listens to, or who he spends time with. He knows that every influence either strengthens or weakens his focus. There is no neutral. Therefore, he chooses wisely. He cultivates silence, not because he fears conversation, but because silence allows him to hear what matters. He sets boundaries, not because he is selfish, but because his energy is sacred. He eliminates what does not serve his mission, not with bitterness, but with clarity. And in this clarity, something powerful emerges. The ability to go deep into a project, deep into a relationship, deep into self-reflection, while others live on the surface, jumping from one dopamine hit to the next. The focused man digs beneath. He studies, he refines, he improves, and through that depth, his confidence becomes unshakable, because he is not guessing. He knows. He knows where his time is going. He knows why he's doing what he's doing. He knows that his energy is being spent wisely, and that knowledge breeds calm. It breeds decisiveness. It breeds power. This is not just about productivity, it is about identity. When you focus only on what matters, you begin to define yourself not by how much you do, but by what you refuse to do. You become selective, not out of pride, but out of principle. You are no longer available to distractions. You are no longer responsive to every demand. You are no longer a slave to urgency. You operate from mission, and that mission gives you a kind of gravity that others feel, even if they don't understand it. This is the core of Stoic focus. It is not cold. It is not mechanical. It is fierce, intentional, and alive. It is the choice to live a concentrated life, a life that says no to chaos and yes to clarity, a life where you do not just survive the day you command it. And in that command, you build momentum. You gain ground. You stack victories, not flashy ones, but real ones. Internal wins. The win of saying no to a vice. The win of holding your tongue when provoked. The win of staying true to your schedule, your standards, your silence. Focus, in the Stoic tradition, is not just a strategy, it is a virtue. It is how the wise man guards his soul from decay. It is how the warrior protects his path from dilution. And it is how the disciplined man becomes unstoppable, not by doing everything, but by doing only what matters, with relentless, undivided attention. Focus like this builds confidence that no failure can shake. Because when you know what matters and you give it everything, you stop needing to explain yourself. Your actions speak. Your results speak. Your presence speaks. And all of it says one thing: this man cannot be moved. 3. Practicing self-reflection. Practicing self-reflection is not simply thinking about your day. It is a deliberate act of self-confrontation, a battle against unconscious habits and unchecked emotions. It is the mirror a man holds up to himself, not to admire his image, but to expose the flaws in his thinking, the gaps in his discipline, and the hidden forces that silently shape his behavior. The Stoics knew that a man who refuses to examine himself is not free. He is led by impulses he doesn't recognize, and driven by desires he doesn't understand. He is a slave, though he may wear a crown, command a business, or hold influence in the world. Internally, he remains ungoverned. But the Stoic, the man of reflection, is different. He studies himself with the same intensity. A general studies the battlefield. He reviews his actions with brutal honesty, not to indulge in guilt or shame, but to gain tactical awareness. He is not afraid to ask, where did I act from ego? Where did I lose control? Where did I waste time? Where did I violate my own code? Seneca instructed, at the end of each day, bring your whole conduct to your recollection. Run over what you have done and what you have thought. That is not sentiment, it is system. It is daily audit, a weapon against drift. Because a man who reflects consistently does not repeat his mistakes. He analyzes them, learns from them, adjusts, and through that steady refinement, he becomes sharper, wiser, more dangerous. He is not reactive. He is not unpredictable. He is measured, controlled. A man who knows his triggers is not easily provoked. A man who understands his tendencies is not easily manipulated. This is not abstract theory. This is practical strength. Self-reflection is what separates men who live intentionally from those who live accidentally. In a world that rewards speed and noise, reflection demands stillness. It forces you to slow down, not because you are weak, but because you are strategic. You create space between stimulus and response, between anger and action, between distraction and direction. You begin to observe your own patterns. You begin to see when emotion hijacks your logic, when laziness disguises itself as rest, when pride speaks louder than reason, and that awareness is everything. Because what you can see, you can control, and what you control, you can improve. That is how real confidence is built, not through pretending you have no flaws, but through mastering the ones that exist. The man who reflects does not fear correction, he invites it. He is not weakened by his past, he uses it. He turns pain into a blueprint, failure into a teacher, and discomfort into fuel. This is how the Stoic trains his mind. Not once, not occasionally, but daily, with a journal, with solitude, with silence. He does not look for applause. He looks for alignment. He does not care how things looked. He cares whether they were right. He does not chase validation. He tracks progress. And this daily check-in, this disciplined internal dialogue becomes his edge. Reflection is not only for correction, it is also for clarity. You reflect not only on what went wrong, but on what went right. You examine the wins. You understand why they happened, what mindset you carried, what principles you upheld, and you reinforce those behaviors with conscious intention. This creates consistency, and consistency creates confidence, because you begin to see that your results are not random, they are earned. They are tied directly to your choices, your discipline, your focus. You realize that you are not just reacting to life, you are shaping it through the small, intentional decisions that others overlook. This is why self-reflection is not optional for the Stoic. It is essential. Without it, you drift. With it, you sharpen. Without it, you repeat. With it, you evolve. The Stoic does not reflect to feel better, he reflects to get better. He does not indulge in rumination, he commits to refinement. This mindset transforms how he sees himself, how he responds to setbacks, and how he prepares for the next day. It is not weakness to examine yourself, it is the highest form of strength, because it takes courage to confront your flaws, to take responsibility for your failures, and to hold yourself to a higher standard when no one else is watching. So build the habit. Sit in silence. Write in a journal. Revisit your day. Ask the hard questions. Answer them without defensiveness. And use the truth not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself. Let your mind become your instructor. Let your conscience become your compass. Let your reflection become your ritual. Because every time you choose awareness over avoidance, you reclaim your power. And with that power, you build a life that cannot be shaken, not by failure, not by judgment, and not by fear. That is what it means to practice Stoic self-reflection. And that is how you become a man who not only commands his day, but masters his life. 4. Embracing learning and curiosity. Embracing learning and curiosity is not just a virtue, it is a strategic necessity for any man who intends to evolve, endure, and rise. In the Stoic tradition, the pursuit of wisdom is a form of warfare against ignorance, pride, and stagnation. It is the antidote to arrogance and the armor against deception, both from the world and from yourself. The moment a man believes he has learned enough, he begins to decline. His mind softens. His perception dulls. He begins to confuse familiarity with mastery and routine with understanding. But the Stoic never makes this mistake. He trains his mind to remain a student not once, not occasionally, but permanently, because he knows that curiosity is not weakness, it is power in its most refined form. Epictetus reminds us that only the educated are free. And this freedom is not academic, it is internal. It is the freedom that comes from understanding the forces that govern your own mind. It is the freedom to see clearly, to adjust quickly, and to think independently in a world that pressures conformity. The man who embraces curiosity becomes immune to the pride that traps so many. He is not afraid to say, "I don't know." He is not ashamed to ask, to explore, to examine his assumptions and rework his beliefs. He does not protect a false image of intelligence. He seeks the real thing. He does not fear complexity, he dissects it. He does not avoid discomfort, he studies it. This mindset makes him adaptable, sharp, and deeply confident, because confidence does not come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting your ability to figure things out. It comes from the unshakable belief that you are capable of learning anything, enduring anything, and refining yourself through any experience. That belief is not blind optimism, it is earned through effort. It is forged in the fires of trial, reflection, and relentless curiosity. This hunger for learning does not only apply to intellectual matters, it applies to the emotional, the physical, the spiritual. The Stoic is curious about himself, his habits, his responses, his desires, his fears. He observes his reactions not to judge them, but to understand and master them. He reflects on his failures not to dwell in regret, but to extract the lessons hidden within them. He asks himself hard questions and listens patiently for honest answers. Why did I get angry? Why did I hesitate? Why do I avoid that task, that person, that responsibility? In these questions, he finds insight, and in insight, he finds freedom. Curiosity also changes how the Stoic sees others. He does not dismiss opposing views without examination. He does not mock those who disagree. He seeks to understand what drives them, not to agree blindly, but to sharpen his own understanding. He is not quick to speak, because he is slow to assume. And this makes his words more powerful because they are rooted in observation, not emotion. Curiosity tempers the ego and strengthens the intellect. It silences arrogance and awakens awareness. It turns every experience into a teacher and every interaction into a chance to grow. There is also a tactical advantage in staying curious in any high-stakes situation, conflict, negotiation, leadership, or survival. The man who is most aware has the upper hand. The man who listens, who observes, who adapts in real time, controls the pace. He sees openings others miss. He senses tension before it erupts. He anticipates resistance and prepares accordingly. This is not magic, it is mastery through observation. The Stoic does not react blindly. He studies patterns. He reads energy. He tracks shifts in behavior. His curiosity is a lens through which he sees more, and therefore does more with less noise and more precision. And perhaps most importantly, learning and curiosity keep the Stoic humble, not weak, but grounded. He knows that his perspective, no matter how developed, is always incomplete. He knows that there is more to learn from history, from failure, from nature, from silence, and even from his enemies. He is not obsessed with appearing wise. He is obsessed with becoming wiser, and that pursuit never ends, because every day offers new data, new insight, new feedback. The Stoic welcomes it. He studies it, he applies it, and through this constant refinement, he becomes more dangerous, not through brute force, but through understanding. He doesn't guess. He doesn't bluff. He knows. So stay curious, not as a hobby, but as a weapon. Study the world. Study yourself. Study your mistakes, your victories, your triggers, your instincts. Read, listen, ask, observe, remain open to evolution. Because when you embrace curiosity as a way of life, you never stop growing. You never stop adapting. You never stop sharpening your edge. And in a world full of rigid minds, shallow certainty, and emotional chaos, you become the rare man who sees through the fog, who learns faster than he falls, and who turns every experience into ammunition for his next move. That is Stoic learning. That is how you rise, not with noise, but with depth, not with certainty, but with hunger, not with answers, but with the relentless will to seek truth. Live it, and grow stronger from it. 5. Building resilience. Building resilience is not just about pushing through hardship. It is about transforming adversity into strength, about becoming a man who stands not in spite of the storm, but because of it. The Stoics never promised a painless life. They did not seek to eliminate struggle. They sought instead to build the kind of character that could endure anything and remain whole. Resilience is the disciplined choice to face life as it is, not as you wish it to be. It is the mindset that prepares for difficulty, expects resistance, and uses every challenge as a sharpening stone. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." That is the core of Stoic resilience, not avoidance, not denial, but engagement. Pain is not the enemy. Weakness is. And weakness is only defeated by conscious effort, by meeting pain with intention and forging your will in the fire of discomfort. A resilient man does not panic when things go wrong because he has already rehearsed the worst. This is why the Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They would imagine failure, loss, betrayal, even death, not to torture themselves, but to prepare themselves. Because when you have already visualized adversity, you rob it of its power to surprise you. You approach life with steadiness, and that steadiness becomes your edge. The man who expects only comfort is always one step from collapse, but the man who expects challenge is always one step ahead. He is not caught off guard. He is not controlled by circumstance. He does not need everything to go right. He only needs the strength to respond when it goes wrong. Resilience also means responsibility. The Stoic does not waste energy blaming others. He does not look outward when things fall apart. He looks inward. He asks, "What can I control? What can I learn? What must I do now to rise from this stronger than I was before?" That self-ownership builds power. It eliminates the victim mindset and replaces it with strategic thinking. Because resilience is not just emotional endurance, it is intelligent adaptation. It is learning faster, recovering smarter, and returning stronger every time you fall. The Stoic does not seek pity. He seeks progress, not because he is numb, but because he has chosen not to let pain dictate his destiny. Resilience is built in the choices no one sees. Waking up early when you feel like quitting, training your body when your mind says rest, saying no to the easy path because it leads nowhere, holding your ground when others fold, speaking truth when silence would be safer. It is built in the daily friction between who you are now and who you are becoming. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and principle over convenience, you are building the mental armor that will protect you when life turns cold. And yes, resilience is emotional, but not in the way most understand. The Stoic does not suppress emotions, he transforms them. Anger becomes fuel, fear becomes focus, sadness becomes depth. These emotions are not weaknesses when handled with mastery. They are signals, tools, sources of self-awareness. The Stoic trains his emotional responses the way a warrior trains his reflexes. He does not react impulsively, he responds intelligently, and in doing so, he builds emotional gravity, a calm, grounded presence that others feel. He becomes the man people look to in crisis, not because he has all the answers, but because he has command of himself. This is the strength of true resilience. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It simply remains. When others break, it holds. When plans fail, it adjusts. When storms rage, it endures. And over time, it becomes your quiet advantage in a loud, chaotic world. You stop fearing the fall, because you know you will rise. You stop shrinking from difficulty, because you know it's part of the process. You stop asking for certainty, because you know confidence is not found in perfect conditions. It is forged through trial and fire. So build your resilience, not with words, but with action. Harden your mind. Strengthen your habits. Prepare for the unexpected. Train not just to survive, but to grow stronger with every blow. Make resilience your identity. Let it shape how you think, how you move, how you live, and in time, you will become a man who no longer fears pain, not because he is numb to it, but because he has turned it into power, a man who walks through darkness with calm eyes, because he carries his own light within. That is Stoic resilience, and that is the foundation of unbreakable confidence. 6. Practicing mindfulness and presence. Practicing mindfulness and presence is not about escaping reality. It is about engaging with it completely, with full command of your attention and your response. It is about reclaiming the one space no one can steal from you, the present moment. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that the past is gone and untouchable, the future is unknown and uncontrollable. But the present, right now, is where your strength lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not philosophy, it is a battle plan. The man who cannot hold his attention in the present is vulnerable to everything. He is distracted, reactive, and uncentered. But the man who disciplines himself to return, again and again, to what is in front of him, becomes a fortress. He sees clearly, he acts deliberately, he controls his inner world, even when the outer world spins in chaos. Mindfulness is not a luxury. It is not something you practice only when the world is quiet. It is a weapon you sharpen for. When the world is loud, it is how you remain composed under pressure, how you navigate conflict without being consumed by emotion, and how you make strategic decisions while others panic. The Stoic is not free from stress. He has simply trained his mind to respond rather than react. When insulted, he does not retaliate. He studies. When provoked, he does not lash out. He waits. When uncertainty looms, he does not collapse into fear. He anchors his breath, surveys the moment, and moves with purpose. This is not detachment. It is command. It is what separates those who are ruled by the world from those who rule themselves. To practice mindfulness is to claim dominion over the one thing you truly own, your mind. It means choosing where your focus goes, instead of letting it be dragged in every direction by the endless demands of the digital world. It means guarding your awareness like territory, recognizing that everything competing for your attention is either sharpening you or weakening you. The Stoic treats his attention as sacred. He does not give it to gossip, to outrage, to noise. He gives it to what matters, to his craft, to his mission, to his character, to the person in front of him. He listens fully, speaks with intention, moves with focus. This is how he builds momentum, not by doing more, but by being fully present in whatever he chooses to do. And presence builds trust, trust in yourself, and trust from others. Because people can feel when you are with them or when you are elsewhere. They can feel when your words are anchored or when they are just noise. They can feel when your energy is centered or scattered. Presence is rare, and therefore it becomes powerful. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It simply radiates calm, certainty, and depth. In a world obsessed with speed, presence feels like strength. In a world addicted to distraction, presence feels like leadership. Practicing mindfulness also trains emotional discipline. It allows you to feel without being flooded, to think without spiraling, to experience without losing yourself. When anger arises, you see it before it controls you. When fear appears, you acknowledge it without becoming its servant. When desire tempts you toward compromise, you pause and examine it, not with shame, but with strategy. This self-awareness becomes your internal compass. It points you back to your values when emotions try to steer you away. It gives you the power to choose your response, not just react to your triggers. This is how you remain sovereign over your state. Calm in chaos, present in pressure, clear in confusion. But this kind of presence does not happen by accident. It must be trained. It must be earned. Through silence, through discipline, through the refusal to be ruled by noise, urgency, or the false belief that rushing through life is the same as living it. The Stoic practices mindfulness not to feel better, but to live better. He meditates not to escape the world, but to face it with clarity. He breathes deeply not to be spiritual, but to be strategic, to reset his focus, to ground himself in the only moment that matters now. So slow down, not because you are weak, but because you are focused. Breathe with intention. Observe your thoughts without being captured by them. Listen without needing to speak. Act without needing to prove. And in doing so, build a presence that speaks for itself. One of calm power, disciplined awareness, and quiet confidence. This is not modern self-help. It is ancient wisdom, proven through generations of warriors, leaders, and thinkers who understood that the most dangerous man in the room is not the one who speaks loudest. It is the one who sees clearly, moves precisely, and remains fully in control of himself. That is the strength of Stoic presence. And that is how you build a life that cannot be shaken, not by distraction, not by fear, and not by anyone who underestimates the power of a man who is fully, unshakably here. 7. Understanding true self-confidence in modern life. True confidence is not a performance. It is not the polished image crafted for others to admire. It is not built on likes, followers, applause, or external validation. It is forged in the private hours, in the silence where no one watches. When you choose discipline over comfort, responsibility over blame, and clarity over chaos, it is a silent force that flows from deep within, a product of self-command, not public recognition. The Stoics understood this with absolute precision. They knew that a man who depends on anything outside himself for strength will eventually fall, not because the world is cruel, but because the world is unstable. Fame fades, fortunes change, people turn, and if your confidence is tied to those things, you will live in fear of their loss. But the man who turns inward, who builds his identity on what he controls, becomes immovable. This is why Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. But he was not speaking of freedom from others. He was speaking of freedom from yourself, from your impulses, your cravings, your distractions, your emotional reactions. Most men are slaves to the moment. They react without thinking, speak without reflection, and chase without purpose. And then they wonder why their confidence feels fragile. The Stoic rejects this path. He trains his mind like a warrior, studying his thoughts, questioning his assumptions, refining his responses. He does not beg the world for reassurance. He builds a fortress within. Confidence, real confidence, is the result of that training. It's not just belief in yourself. It's belief earned by action. It comes from walking through fire and not flinching, from standing still while others run, from knowing that whatever happens outside, you will remain steady inside. This is not fantasy. This is not a motivational phrase. This is a way of life. It begins the moment you stop outsourcing your worth and start practicing mastery. Mastery of your routines, your values, your time, your attention. Think about how most people live. They wake up reacting. They scroll. They chase. They compare. They complain. And their confidence rises and falls based on what others say or don't say, what they win or lose, how today feels. This is not strength. This is instability, masked as ambition. The Stoic lives differently. He rises with intention. He chooses thoughts that serve him. He walks with purpose, even when the road is unclear. And when obstacles come, and they always come, he does not ask, "Why me?" He asks, "How can I respond with strength?" That is the mindset that builds unbreakable confidence, not the avoidance of hardship, but the readiness for it. This kind of inner power does not scream. It does not need to prove itself. It speaks through calm decisions, firm boundaries, and quiet resilience. It's seen in the way a man carries himself when everything falls apart, when the deal is lost, when the relationship ends, when the unexpected hits. Does he collapse, or does he breathe, reflect, and move forward with deliberate focus? That response reveals the truth. Confidence is not tested when things are easy. It is revealed when they are not, and here is the truth most ignore. You cannot fake this. You cannot read about it and pretend to live it. You must earn it. Through sweat, through silence, through struggle. It is built every time you say no to comfort and yes to principle. Every time you resist distraction and choose depth. Every time you stop running and choose to face yourself. Honestly and fully. The Stoic does not chase reputation. He chases alignment between thought, word, and action. And when that alignment is real, confidence is not something he needs to display. It becomes the ground he stands on. So, if you want to become unshakable, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop trying to impress. Start building. Your habits, your values, your mind. Prepare for resistance. Welcome discomfort. Use it. Let pain teach you. Let discipline define you. Let silence refine you. And above all, remember, nothing outside you can give you what only self-mastery can create. The world is noise, but within you, there can be order. There can be strength. And if you stay on this path uncompromising, focused, and rooted in reason, you will find a confidence that no loss can destroy. That is the confidence of the Stoic, and it is yours to build. 8. Positive mindset. Cultivating a positive mindset in the Stoic sense is not about avoiding hardship or denying the harsh realities of life. It is about taking full responsibility for how you interpret and respond to those realities. It is about building the kind of inner framework that cannot be dismantled by external events. No matter how severe, the Stoic does not wait for perfect conditions to feel powerful. He does not rely on applause, agreement, or comfort to access his inner strength. Instead, he forges a mindset that interprets every challenge as a tool, every pain as a forge, every setback as a sharpening stone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the command, not advice, not suggestion. Command. because if you do not claim authority over your thoughts, the world will do it for you. Media, fear, resentment, comparison, these will all colonize your mental space if you do not occupy it with discipline and clarity. A positive mindset is not just an attitude, it is a weapon. It is a defense against manipulation, a counter to chaos, and a foundation from which you rise when the rest collapse. The Stoic is not positive because he hopes everything will turn out fine. He is positive because he has already decided that no matter what happens, he will respond with purpose, calm, and control. His positivity is not rooted in naivety. It is rooted in dominance over his own interpretation. He knows that events are neutral. It is his judgment that gives them weight. So he trains that judgment. He filters his thoughts. He rewires his reactions. And he builds a mind that resists the poisons of cynicism, complaint, and defeatism. When the weak man faces failure, he sees it as confirmation of his doubts. When the Stoic faces failure, he sees it as data, as instruction, as a message from life on where to aim his next effort. He does not spiral. He studies. When loss strikes, the weak man asks, "Why me?" The Stoic asks, "What is this teaching me?" One question weakens, the other strengthens. This is the power of framing. Your inner dialogue is not trivial. It is the ground from which all action, emotion, and behavior arise. And if your mind is poisoned with negativity, self-doubt, or fear, then every step forward becomes heavier, slower, and less certain. But if your mind is trained to see opportunity in opposition, growth in discomfort, and meaning in adversity, then even your slowest steps become unstoppable. To train this mindset, the Stoic engages in daily practice. He reviews his thoughts. He writes. He reflects. He challenges the narratives that arise in moments of stress or failure. He replaces the victim mindset with ownership, the reactive emotion with rational response, the hopeless story with a strategic one. He chooses to interpret pain as something to be used, not avoided. He chooses to view fear as something to be mastered, not obeyed. And he does this again and again, until his thoughts are no longer fragile opinions, but forged convictions. Gratitude becomes a tool, not for comfort, but for recalibration. The Stoic does not express gratitude only when things go well. He practices it even in difficulty, because he understands that acknowledging what remains, what he still controls, what he still values, what he still is, centers his mind. It prevents drift. It reminds him that life is still full of purpose, even when filled with pain. That recognition strengthens him, and strength, not comfort, is what he trains for. This mindset is not built overnight. It is earned through effort, through discipline, through constant mental correction. But once built, it becomes your edge. When others panic, you stay composed. When others quit, you adjust. When others curse their circumstances, you quietly begin solving the next move. And this is why the Stoics' positivity is so rare, because it does not fluctuate with emotion. It is not attached to outcome. It is embedded in principle, anchored in self-control, and reinforced by repeated action. So do not wait to feel positive. Decide to think clearly. Speak truth to your own thoughts. Remind yourself that your mind is your domain, and you are its ruler. Challenge weakness wherever it hides. Replace despair with strategy. Replace doubt with action. And above all, remember, you are not here to be a prisoner of your emotions. You are here to be the master of your response. That is Stoic positivity. It is not passive. It is not fragile. It is forged. It is fierce. And it is what makes you resilient. Not just in good times, but in the darkest moments where real strength is revealed. 9. Leadership skills. Developing leadership skills through the lens of Stoic philosophy is not about managing people. It is about governing yourself with such integrity, discipline, and clarity that others naturally follow your example. A Stoic leader does not lead with noise, fear, or ego. He leads with presence, with unwavering standards, with a silent authority that commands respect, not by force, but by consistency. The modern world is full of men chasing leadership positions, but lacking the character to carry them. They seek status without sacrifice. They want the image of power without the burden of self-control. But the Stoic understands that leadership is not a badge you wear, it is a weight you carry. And if you are not strong enough to lead yourself, you will crumble the moment others begin to depend on you. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." The Stoic leader does not lead by accident. He is rooted in identity. He has spent the time in silence, in solitude, in study. So when the moment comes to act, to speak, to direct, he does so with certainty. His confidence is not artificial, it is earned. It is grounded in countless hours of preparation, reflection, and failure. That is why he does not bluff. He does not pretend. He does not speak on matters he does not understand. His words are deliberate. His actions are measured, and his influence is deep, not because he demands attention, but because he lives as an example of what is possible when discipline and wisdom shape a man's life. The Stoic leader knows that his emotions are not the enemy, but he does not let them run the show. He feels anger, but does not lash out. He feels fear, but does not freeze. He feels stress, but he does not allow it to poison his clarity. He uses emotions as signals, not orders. And because of that, he remains steady in crisis, unshaken in the face of opposition, and clear when others are lost in panic. His people trust him, not because he has all the answers, but because he remains calm, present, and unbreakable when it matters most. That steadiness is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes power. But power in the hands of a weak man becomes destruction. That is why the Stoic cultivates humility. He does not confuse his role with his worth. He does not place himself above those he serves. He leads from the front, not for glory, but to shoulder the weight first. He seeks out feedback, not praise. He listens more than he speaks. And when he is wrong, he admits it without delay. Because his ego does not outrank the mission, he understands that leadership is not about being worshipped, it is about being responsible. And the more people you lead, the more responsibility you accept, not just for their results, but for their growth, their morale, and their example. That burden does not weaken him, it sharpens him. It reminds him that his standard must be higher, his self-awareness deeper, his patience longer. A Stoic leader also knows that leadership is a moral obligation. He does not use influence to manipulate. He does not exploit weakness. He does not play games to gain control. He uses his strength to elevate, not dominate. He inspires others to raise their own standards, not by preaching, but by living, by waking early, by working hard, by honoring his word, by treating others with respect and demanding excellence without apology. And when others fall short, he does not humiliate them. He teaches them. He does not excuse weakness, but he does not condemn those who struggle. He offers truth direct, firm, and fair, because he knows that the job of a leader is not to be liked. It is to be clear, to serve the mission above comfort, to protect the long-term goal, even when it requires short-term sacrifice. This level of leadership cannot be faked. It cannot be faked in the workplace. It cannot be faked in the family. It cannot be faked in war, in loss, or in moments of uncertainty when stress hits. The truth shows, either you are centered or you are not. Either you have practiced inner leadership or you are trying to wing it, and those who follow you will feel it. They will know if your strength is real or rehearsed. That is why the Stoic trains relentlessly, not for applause, not for status, but because he understands that every moment is a test of leadership. How you act when no one sees, how you speak when it would be easier to stay silent, how you stay disciplined when others have given up. So build yourself first. Before you speak, study. Before you demand, demonstrate. Before you lead others, lead yourself. Through silence, through reflection, through daily action aligned with your values. Be the man who does not need the title to lead. Be the man who moves with purpose, speaks with weight, and carries himself with honor. And when leadership is placed on your shoulders, you will not shrink, you will rise. Because you have done the work. You have made yourself capable. You have earned the right to lead, not through entitlement, but through complete, tested, and unshakable self-mastery. That is Stoic leadership. It is not granted. It is built. It is not loud. It is powerful in its silence. It is not temporary. It becomes your legacy. And those who follow you will not follow out of fear. They will follow out of respect for the man you are and the mission you live by. 10. Clear vision. Having a clear vision is not merely about ambition. It is about constructing an inner blueprint that defines who you are, what you stand for, and where you are going with unwavering certainty. In Stoic philosophy, vision is not a luxury for the few. It is a necessity for anyone who seeks to live with intention, direction, and true inner power. Without vision, even the most talented man becomes scattered. He works hard, but without aim. He moves quickly, but without purpose. He becomes a servant to urgency, reacting to life rather than shaping it. But the man with vision is different. He is calm in his decisions, intentional in his movements, and immune to the pressures that derail the undisciplined. Marcus Aurelius warned that a man without a purpose wastes his energy, even when he is busy. This insight reveals the quiet danger of modern life, being consumed by motion, activity, and appearance, yet completely disconnected from meaning. A clear vision simplifies everything. It becomes your internal compass, helping you navigate through chaos, noise, and temptation without losing your direction. When you have defined your mission, you no longer ask, "What should I do?" You ask, "Does this align with who I have chosen to become?" That question alone eliminates 90% of distractions. It makes decision-making faster, cleaner, more decisive. You stop wasting time trying to be everything to everyone. You stop looking for validation in the eyes of people who do not share your values. You stop doubting yourself in the face of criticism because your aim is no longer to please. It is to execute. And you execute with clarity because you know the outcome is secondary to the path. The Stoic does not chase results. He honors his role in the process. His job is to act in alignment with his purpose, with his virtues, with his code. Whether the world understands or agrees is irrelevant. He is not driven by reaction. He is guided by reason. Vision is not a one-time decision. It is a lifelong discipline. It must be reviewed, refined, and reinforced through deep self-inquiry and silent reflection. The Stoic takes time to examine his trajectory. He does not wait for failure to ask hard questions. He builds his clarity daily, through journaling, stillness, and confrontation with truth. What am I pursuing? Is it truly mine? Or have I borrowed it from the expectations of others? What price am I willing to pay to stay aligned with my path? These are the questions that strengthen resolve. They reveal hidden compromises and expose the areas where comfort has taken the place of purpose. Without this level of self-awareness, a man may achieve everything society celebrates: wealth, popularity, power, and still feel empty, because success without clarity is failure in disguise. And when your vision is clear, your environment becomes a tool, not a trap. You design your surroundings to support your path. You remove the noise. You distance yourself from the weak, the confused, the erratic. You guard your mind like a fortress. You structure your time like a strategist. You move with the awareness that every distraction has a cost, and every wasted day is a day subtracted from your mission. This is not obsession. It is commitment. It is the understanding that purpose is not achieved accidentally. It is cultivated through ruthless clarity and disciplined execution. A man with vision is not thrown by failure. He uses it. He is not shaken by opposition. He studies it. He does not collapse under pressure. He adapts to it. Because every experience, whether painful or pleasant, becomes fuel to refine his path, strengthen his values, and reinforce his resolve. And what does this clarity do for your confidence? Everything. Because when you know who you are, what you stand for, and what you are building, there is nothing the world can throw at you that derails your foundation. Insults bounce off. Rejections lose their sting. Delays do not shake your faith. You walk with presence because your steps are chosen, not borrowed. You speak with weight because your words are anchored in conviction. You endure with silence because your suffering is not meaningless. It is proof of your purpose. And that kind of man becomes rare. He becomes respected. He becomes unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because he has become stronger than the forces that once controlled him. So define your vision. Sharpen it until it cuts through distraction. Protect it until it becomes your second nature. Revisit it until it becomes your instinct. And let it lead you, not just through the good times, but through adversity, through solitude, through every season where others quit. Because with clear vision, even in the dark, you will always know where to go. That is the Stoic way. Not to drift, but to direct. Not to wander, but to walk. With clarity, with strength, with an unbreakable sense of purpose that no failure, no praise, and no manipulation can ever take from you. These 10 Stoic lessons are not abstract theories. They are battle-tested principles that forge men who are calm in chaos, clear in confusion, and unshakable in adversity. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is not given by others. It is built, earned, and owned through disciplined thought, strategic action, and an unbreakable commitment to mastering yourself. This path is not for the man who wants comfort. It is for the man who wants command over his time, over his energy, over his mind. It is for the man who no longer wishes to react like everyone else, but who chooses instead to respond with strength, with silence, and with purpose. So take what you've learned, apply it, live it. Do not just agree with these ideas, embody them, make them habits. Let them shape your discipline, your presence, and your vision, because the world does not need more noise. It needs men who are rooted, focused, dangerous, not because of their volume, but because of their stillness. That can be you, if you are willing to walk this path, with reason as your guide, and self-mastery as your goal. Then confidence will not be something you chase. It will be something you carry, quiet, unshakable, and absolutely real.